Hey, what's up, YouTube fans? So what I wanted to talk about in this video, right, is how intelligence, quote unquote, is not in of itself an explanation for anything, right? So I was thinking about this the other day when I saw this interview of this guy from the Discovery Institute where they promote, quote unquote, intelligent design. And he said, we're looking for phenomenon that can only be explained by intelligence. It's like, hold on a second. How is intelligence in of itself an explanation for anything? Because so if we break down the meaning of intelligence, intelligence is defined strictly by the ability something has, the skill sets it has, right? So having your explanation for something be intelligence is essentially equivalent to saying the explanation is that there was a thing able to make it happen and it made it happen, right? That's a very lazy attempt at an explanation, right? Just saying there was a thing able to make it happen and it did, that's not an explanation, right? And that's really all you're saying when you say the explanation is intelligence, quote unquote, right? It'll not sound like that to people because they put that word on it of intelligence, right? But if we look at how is intelligence defined, right? It's defined entirely by abilities, by skill sets. It tells you nothing about how something has those abilities or skill sets or what would have those abilities. And it's especially ambiguous in the context of God, because God is believed to know everything and to have created everything. And so, at least in the context of humans, you could say like, well, maybe in a very abstract sense, it's telling us the way through which someone has the ability to know something, barely at all, not even really, but, at least in the context of humans, we could say like, well, they use, learning and, reasoning, like deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning. But if you know everything and you created everything, you wouldn't need to learn and you wouldn't have to use like inductive reasoning or deductive reasoning, any of that, because you would already know all of the answers to everything, right? Because you yourself created everything, right? And so even in an abstract sense, they're not at all whatsoever giving us an explanation. They're really just saying there was a thing able to make it happen and it did. That's not an explanation though, right? And the reason why intelligent design in the context of humans has explanatory power, and so like to say like, oh, this coffee cup was intelligently designed, why does that have explanatory power? It's not just because of an abstract quality like intelligence, it's because humans have sensory organs, brain, arms, and fingers, right? That gives us a mechanism through which it was created, right? Simply saying intelligence, you're just saying there was a thing that had the ability to make it happen and it did. That's not an explanation at all whatsoever, right? Like not even in a very abstract sense, not at all. You're literally, all you're saying is there was something that had the ability to make it happen and it did. And whatever it was, we'll just call it God and pretend like that's in of itself an explanation. And in fact, it's worse than saying that there was, it's actually even worse than saying that there was something that had the ability to make it happen and it did. It's even worse than that, because they will tend to believe that God is spaceless, timeless, immaterial, and not bound by any of the laws of nature. So then by that point, what do we even mean by cause? Even the concept of causality is very abstract, very extremely ambiguous when we're talking about something that's not a part of space and time, doesn't go by any of the laws of nature, isn't material. What do we even mean by cause then, right? even that is not well defined, right? And so it's even worse than saying there was something that had the ability to make it happen and it did. It really is just a matter of, whatever the explanation is, we'll call it intelligence, or we'll call it mind, or we'll call it God. We'll just put that label on it and pretend like that's in of itself an explanation, but it's not at all, right? All right, that's all for now. See you guys.